And we're talking Loki. I'm joined by Andrew Salazar from Discussing Film. We're doing a really quick review of Loki on streaming now on Disney Plus. It's not fun. So Andrew, we both saw Loki. You saw a bit more than me, but we'll elaborate on that later. What are your thoughts on the show?
Right off the bat, it's not the same as the previous two. I feel like that's such a generic thing to say now because all of these it's like it's like that meme that went viral online of like all of the different Marvel movies and then like all the Scorsese movies and then it
Yeah,
says like they all say different things like heist film and
yeah,
uh 70s thriller and then it just says like gangster movie on the other side. I feel like it's such a generic thing to say because obviously to a certain degree these things are different on the surface level, but then a lot of the times they prove to most be like the same meaty stuff on the bottom. But this one actually I do feel like it isn't exactly within the same vein as the last two
hmm,
Marvel shows, which I mean not to get like too into, but they both of them I feel to a certain degree ended up revealing that they weren't as different as they thought they were,
okay,
right? But this one I kind of feel like has a lot of advantages to it, and like I don't want to steal, uh, someone else's words, but I've seen a lot of people say this that like I feel like this show right off the bat has a lot more going for it because of the fact that we literally don't know what it's how it's going to end or what it's going to be as
yeah,
opposed to the other two shows, not to like try to like bring down the other two shows if you like them, that's cool and stuff like that, but
hmm,
the fact of the matter is that when those shows started you knew exactly what was going to happen more or less. Like you knew that WandaVision was going to set up Doctor Strange and you knew that Sam was always going to end up being Cap somehow. Like
yeah,
those shows kind of had like their finales predetermined already to some degree, and this one doesn't, like not at all.
hmm,
Like if there's anything about it, it's building a completely new path that if anything might be more consequential down the line because I've seen again like it's only the first episode, but people are already
yeah. It's
building
all
like crazy ass fan theories
yeah.
and shit like that. So
They really bank on these fan theories.
yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing,
Yeah, like
like
Mephisto's not gonna be in it. Like,
no,
stop.
what just what I'm gonna say this right now. I don't think as much like crap that me and you and that I've been on the podcast plenty of times before,
Yeah,
and as much crap that we've given like Marvel or whatever it may be, I genuinely don't think that all of this fan theory stuff is like their fault or that like
yeah,
they have much control over it.
yeah,
Because like the best example I can give is that in this episode, it's not even a spoiler. In this episode, there's a scene where Owen Wilson is in front. He's like in some kind of church, and he's in front of like an old like church glass
yeah,
window with like the different tiles and stuff. And it looks like a demonic figure with like horns. And when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's like a cool little Loki nod because his horns are
yeah,
like the Loki horn." And then I saw people online already busting out the Mephisto shit. Like, no, guys, you need to
yeah,
stop, and you need to like, an even worse one. Again, not to get sidetracked off the bat, but this is not even spoiler, so I feel like it's okay to say it. But there's a little piece, like a little tiny little snippet, Gene. I don't know if you caught it, where Loki is kind of like running around the TVA, and for a quick second, there's a couple that work in the TVA because they look like normal people dressed like they would be in that facility that pop up out of like a little portal and walk behind him. Some people, and what I mean by some people, I mean people who have a lot of influence in like I guess the nerd community who if
yeah,
they tweet one thing they know it's going to go viral, it's going to blow up. They've already been saying that if you zoom in enough, the person looks like she kind of looks like Peggy Carter in the sense that she has like an old dress
right,
and she
yeah,
has like the similar hairstyle, and they're like, is this Peggy Carter? Like, look guys, you need to shut up. And you like genuinely like I don't want to like, it's kind of like one of those like this is why, like I'm a nerd too, like look at me like the way I'm dressed up and what we're gonna talk about later on, but like this is why they put people in lockers. Like you need to stop. You're only gonna make things worse.
hmm,
Like just stop. I don't know, like it's time to stop. Like I don't know, I have a big watch,
yeah.
a
Just
big fucking
like the
clock, like
meme,
it's
like get some
time
help,
to stop.
get some
Yeah, you
help.
need
Yeah,
I know it's fun in games, but like
Yeah,
there's a
it's
whole pocket that don't treat it like fun in games.
yeah,
Yeah. So.
exactly. I mean, like stuff like Lost. This kind of reminds me of Lost, where that was like fun because it like really went into the lore and everything. But like
Hmm.
a lot of some fan theories get a little reaching, but it's all right. Um, but yeah,
It's like
I'm
look.
enjoying the
Look.
show. Like at least for the first episode, like I mean, I watch these at midnight, and I stay up fairly late, like till 1 a.m. sometimes, and like I mean, this isn't really like a they're less than 30 minutes. They're or not less than 30 minutes. They're less than an hour.
Uh-huh,
Like
uh-huh.
some like I remember like all the Netflix Marvel shows, like fucking Luke
They
Cage
were
was
like
like
55. Yeah.
55, and I'm like I hate to be
Yeah.
like that guy, but like the economics of like my time sometimes are like I can't devote to like an hour and 20 Luke Cage show, even though people like I don't know
That's
probably
fair.
yeah.
Hmm.
There's probably some revisionism of like people like, oh yeah, the Netflix shows, the Marvel shows, those were great. It's not Disney, but like I think like they were really good, and these are just like different, but like I think like they didn't have like a plan sometimes. They just kind of were meandering, like except Daredevil. Because like I tuned
Hmm. Hmm.
out of like the Punisher the second season, tuned out of
I
like
never even
just
watched The Punisher, dude.
yeah, tuned out of
No.
Jessica Jones at a certain point. Luke Cage was only two. It was like it was
Mhm.
good. That was like that and Daredevil were like the better shows, but like Luke Cage like felt like it's like an hour and 20. I'm like what? So I appreciate
Yeah.
like Loki like it's like 40 minutes. That's cool. And
Well, they're both like they both reach 50. They're
yeah,
like 54, but like the last few minutes is like the
it's like
credits and stuff
credits.
like
It
that.
doesn't count. Like I
Yeah.
just
It
yeah,
doesn't count. It doesn't count.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm appreciating that, and I think like Loki is really drawing on a lot of like weird stuff from the Marvel universe, like Mobius and Mobius
Hmm.
is like such a weird like niche character, and is played by like oh yeah Owen Wilson.
Wow.
Wow,
Um.
holy shirts and pants. He's like yeah he's pretty good in this role, and then too he doesn't get any work within he didn't get any work within the last couple of years, so it's
Yeah.
nice someone's because he's such a great actor too, like he's very understated.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I,
better. I
I
think.
absolutely agree.
Yeah, so it's cool to get like an Owen Wilson revival. So yeah, I'm feel pretty invested. I like Loki. He's an interesting character. What can you say as we're wrapping up? Your thoughts on the second episode without spoiling too much?
Right, because I did get a chance to see two episodes ahead of time and instead of just one.
Yeah,
And one thing that I will say is obviously the quickest like I guess comparison that people are going to jump to is that this gives very Terry Gilliam Brazil vibes in a sense, and there's some moments in the first episode when they're in like the I guess it's like not the interrogation room, but they're in the slideshow room, I should
yeah.
say, where they're going through the way that that room is lit and stuff like that, and the way that their position reminds me a lot of again, this was I don't want to be like turn off film bro or anything, but it reminds me a lot of a Beyond the Black Rainbow.
Oh, okay.
There's a few segments in that movie, and I
Yeah,
don't want to go too far
I've
and
seen
say
it.
that oh like Marvel like no. I'm just
Yeah,
saying that there's
it just
very
reminds you of it.
reminiscent,
Yeah,
right? Um, and but I will say that I feel in the same way again that like WandaVision, specifically that one more so than Falcon Winter Soldier because Falcon was a little more grounded back to like
true.
MCU basics that we were more recognizable.
Yeah,
But I feel like WandaVision's biggest like crux, if so to say, was that it didn't end up being as like smart or as like as
uh,
cunning with its gimmick, which is
right.
fine. It was a gimmick. It's
Yeah,
okay. It's
it
very
was
good
fine.
as I thought it would be. And this one has this kind of like gimmicky thing going on too, where the second episode kind of gives kind of more like detective-esque
Oh,
vibes,
okay.
I guess so to say. But
Okay.
my what I hope at least, and again, I'm only saying this for the second episode because I will say something else in a bit, but I hope it doesn't end up being the same case. And even some of the movies have this too, not even just like trying to diss on WandaVision or anything, but they always end up not being as committed to whatever their bit or their gimmick is or their selling point is, and
Hmm.
they always end up going back to like being like, oh, like this is what I'm familiar with. again, the opportunities are endless here. So I feel like if this does fully commit to, because so far within just the 2 episodes, I feel like the show probably is already kind of going back into that rhythm, unfortunately, of like
Oh, okay.
it thinks it's like Brazil in the MCU, but it's not like fully committing to like the kind of ideas that that movie, that classic movie, haven't seen it has.
Yeah.
But again, I am speaking highly because the second episode, I am not going to spoil, but it ends on a certain note that just to say like had me completely sold, because I liked the first episode enough, like it was, it's building up and stuff, and the second one is like more or less the same to a certain degree, but by the end of it I was like, okay, like now I see why I'm gonna commit to this show, because otherwise I probably might not be up willing to stay up till midnight, but now after the end of the second episode I am.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not gonna even hint at anything because it's pretty gnarly.
All right. Well, I'll hold you to it, and maybe we'll talk
Yeah.
about it off camera. But
Yeah.
yeah. I guess that was the first two episodes of Loki. So you guys will check it out when this episode airs. So cool.